Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Connected Wellness Podcast. I'm Rachel Ann. I'm here with Marianne, and we are so passionate about wellness.
Here in this podcast, we look at the ways our physical, emotional, and spiritual health is all connected and how we can take better care of our whole selves holistically so we can live our best lives. We're really excited that you're here with us on the journey. Welcome to
Yes.
episode 50 of the
Yes,
podcast.
50. Wow. This is so amazing.
It
50.
really is amazing. We're like just about 2 years in, half of a
Yeah.
hundred. This is so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. Oh,
So thanks for being here. Yes, and thank
yes.
you, Rachel, for sticking it out with me and this wild idea that we had.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. Oh man, it's a good time. We are so grateful for you all tuning in, sharing your thoughts, the topics you want us to cover. We are so grateful. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. So today we have an interesting topic,
Mhm.
body neutrality. So
Mm-mm.
I think this is one of those things that if you again pay any attention to like the wellness space is something that pops up depending on what kind of content you follow. For me, this definitely pops up quite a
Mm,
bit and I think it'll be
same.
interesting, yeah, to talk about what it is and how it can be helpful to us. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it. But
Yeah.
let's have some wellness wins. Do you want to start, Rachel Ann?
Yeah, absolutely. So my wellness win is that this weekend I got to spend a lot of time in nature. My husband and I, we went to about an hour outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was very naturesque, and lots of trees and leaves, and it's a beautiful time of the year because the leaves are
Mhm.
changing colors and the air is crisp. We were there for a wedding and it was an awesome wedding. This is a couple that we love very much. And so it was like good times that way. Like we just like we love and we love weddings and we really love our friends. And also it was just so beautiful to be in nature.
Mhm.
So that was my wellness win, just being able to like sit outside on a porch and just like look at just so many trees and like yards and yards of grass. And it was quiet. It was really nice. So that's my
Yeah.
wellness one.
That's great. That's great. I do want to invite you anytime to come to our house because on the deck
Yeah.
there's not yards and yards and yards, but there's plenty of trees. We get so
Yeah.
many birds. Like in the morning, it is glorious that you just like hear the
Oh.
birds singing. It's really beautiful. So anytime you need a quick getaway, you're more than welcome. Yeah,
Thanks, Mariette. I
of
appreciate it.
course.
Oh, how
Um,
about you?
so mine is, I'm going to call it an increase in mindfulness,
Hmm.
because I still am not feeling great. I said that last time at we recorded. So unfortunately, I'm still not feeling well, but I think because it's been so long now, it's making me pay attention to the times when I'm feeling okay, right? Like there's been kind of
Hmm.
an up and down of how I'm feeling. And so when I'm feeling okay, I feel like I really notice. I'm like, hey, I don't have the headache that I've been having, or I don't have this particular symptom. And I'm very
Hmm.
thankful for those times. So it's causing me to be more mindful and also to remember to thank God just in every moment to kind of just take things one day at a time, 1 hour at a
Hmm.
time. Um, and I think that that's a good, takeaway from this not so pleasant experience that I've been having. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm sorry you're still not feeling well, but I'm really
thanks.
glad that you are able to acknowledge and notice the times when you are feeling okay.
Yeah,
Mindfulness, man, it changes the game. It changes the
yeah.
game.
Yeah, I actually feel like we should talk maybe about mindfulness another time, like just
Yeah.
an episode on that, because I don't think we've
Okay.
done that yet. And I think there's a lot to it.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let us
yeah,
know in the
yeah.
comments if you want us to talk about mindfulness, but it seems like that would be a good next topic for sure.
Yeah. I meant to tell you earlier, like not while we were recording, but it's all right. Now it's fine as well. Um,
Yeah.
so sneak preview, but okay.
Mhm.
So, all right, what is this body neutrality topic? Actually, it's interesting that it does have something to do with me not feeling well. There's a way that I'm going to tie this in, but
Mm.
what I love about body neutrality, okay, because before there was body neutrality, again, if you're in this wellness space, there was body positivity, right?
Mhm.
Not the same thing. So, Rachel Ann, do you remember what is body positivity?
Mhm. Body positivity, I think it started off with positive intentions, but it kind of grew and maybe got a little twisted and turned and all that stuff. But the original meaning of body positivity is feeling positive about your body, which I know can sound very like that makes sense, right? Body positivity. I
Mhm.
think what started to happen though was people were feeling only positive about their body, that they weren't practicing things like mindfulness, and therefore they were not tuning into when something wasn't working the way that they wanted it to. So if there was an issue that they were having, they would be like, well, everything is fine because I feel good about my body. Feeling good about your
Mhm.
body is great, but if there's a need that your body has, you need to tune into it. And so there
Yeah.
started to be this dichotomy that I don't think people saw coming. And then body neutrality came about.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I like remember about body positivity is that it's just like unconditionally loving your body, and no matter its, shape, size, whatever limitations it might have,
Hmm.
anything. Like, so normally a lot of us have things about our bodies that we don't particularly love, right? Certain parts
Hmm.
of our bodies, I'm not really shy about that. Like, so here's the problem with body positivity, right? If it's
Hmm.
encouraging me to love my body no matter what it looks like or how it feels or whatever, it can feel unrealistic. Like I'm supposed to
Hmm.
look in the mirror, maybe put on, a cute underwear or a bathing suit or whatever, and be like, oh yeah, I look amazing. I absolutely love every part of my body in this bikini, even though my stomach is sticking out or my thighs are big or whatever it is, I'm supposed to love all of it, right? But that's
Hmm.
pretty unrealistic. Even if I feel like I could say affirmations until I'm blue in the face, right?
Hmm.
But I personally, and I think a lot of people are in the same boat, could not get to that point where I
Hmm.
absolutely love every single part of my body, no matter
Hmm.
what it's wearing or not wearing or how it feels or whatever. So I
Hmm.
think that for me, that was the problem with body positivity is that it just
Hmm.
wasn't realistic, right? It was not achievable. And for me to continue trying to convince myself that I love everything about my body feels um like not genuine, doesn't feel authentic,
Hmm.
and it almost maybe is going to make me feel worse because I'm trying to do something that is supposed to be good for me and I might feel
Hmm.
like I'm failing, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just another thing I'm failing at, and that's not going to help me feel more positive at all. So
Hmm.
what I like about body neutrality is that it's supposed to be like more about acceptance, right? So maybe I don't love every single part of my body, but that's okay, right? That's
Yeah.
okay. My body
Yeah.
is not perfect and it's not supposed to be perfect. Nobody is supposed to be
Yeah.
perfect, and
That's the
also it's
thing.
more about respect, right? Like my
Hmm.
body does so many things on a regular basis that have nothing to do with how it looks. Like it carries
Yeah.
me through the day. It allows me to do the things that I love, and I appreciate that, right? Regardless of how it looks. So I think
Yeah.
it's a lot more of an attainable goal, I think, for many of us than this like straight up unconditional love and positivity.
Yeah, I think where body positivity kind of took a turn and kind of lost a lot of people is that it was forcing people to be okay with something that they actually weren't okay with and then shaming them into doing that. I think
Hmm.
that's like a part that was really difficult. And then another part is that body positivity had too much focus on the superficiality aspects of having a body. Whereas
Mm,
body neutrality says we're going to appreciate the at like our body. We're going to accept the parts of it that are really difficult, but we're going to uphold and affirm the functionality of our body. So it
right.
takes away the, oh, am I pretty enough? Oh, am I like the size that the world thinks I need to be? Those aren't actually the things that are important, which body
Hmm.
positivity forces us to think about because it uses that lens versus body neutrality says, is my body functioning the way that I want it to? right? And I appreciate my body because it's here, because it is functioning. The aspects of it that are not functioning the way that I want it to, I will do things to care for my body so that it will function well. And because
Right.
I already love and accept myself, I'm okay if aspects of my body don't look the way that I want it to. But the look is not the main focus. The
Right.
functionality and the health is the main focus. And I think when we have that perspective, I think that is actually more in alignment with God's perspective of our bodies, right? We don't
Hmm.
really hear or see things in the Bible that's like you need to look this certain way or be this certain way in order for you to be good enough or pretty enough or loved enough. That's
Right.
not like God didn't create us with the intention that we all work on being some type of standard of beauty. God created our
Right.
bodies and he wants us to steward our bodies well. That means
Right.
taking care of the functionality that's happening. And so me personally, I think body positivity had a good run. I think it makes sense to some degree, but I think body neutrality is really where it's at. It takes away that superficiality and that appearance focused perspective. And instead
Yeah.
it's more in depth. And we're like, well, what's actually happening and what's actually important? What's actually important is
Yeah.
what's happening in my body. That's more
Yeah.
important than whatever society says my beauty standard as a woman of color needs to be.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think body positivity works for some people. And if it
Mm,
works for you, that's great. Good for you, right? Embrace and love your body no matter what it looks like. I think that's great. But it just doesn't work for everyone, right? So I
yeah.
think what you said about like it's a more holistic approach, right? Because it's not
Mm,
focused just on the appearance, but again on like what my body does. And my body is, or first of all, I am so much more than my body, right? And
mm-hmm.
I am so much more than the way my body looks. And that's again more of what this is about. Like the way that I look is a very small part of what makes me me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think even if you think about like asking someone who really, really loves you and knows you, and if someone's
Mm,
like, hey, tell me about Rachel, like, is the first thing they're going to be like, oh, she has curly hair, or,
mm,
she's however tall you are or whatever
mm,
size you are. Like, no, I think they're going to say, oh, she's warm and she's, creative and she's intelligent and she's this and she's that, things about your
mm,
personality and about you that have nothing to do with the way that you look.
mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of that is hard for us to understand as people who live in the world that we live in, because the world is very counter to that. The world is very appearance focused, right? If you're beautiful, you get to move forward in places where people who are not beautiful can't be.
Mhm.
Whereas God's standards doesn't have those requirements. So it is difficult. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, this doesn't seem realistic, it can be really hard to attain this body neutrality perspective because there is not as many messages in the world that is healthy and feeds us in the way that says your body is worth caring for, and the body neutrality of understanding that the functions of your body is really what we need to focus on. There's not many messages that support that. So if this is a
Yeah.
hard conversation, Marion and I are here with you. Both of us have ups and downs in our health journeys. Marion has talked about like her weight and her body and her working out, and so please know that you're in good company. And we're not speaking from a
Hmm.
perspective of like, this is easy. We're speaking from a perspective of this is something that we remind ourselves, for me, daily. Like I have to remind myself that like, oh, Rachel, the numbers that matter isn't this one. The number that matters is actually like this that you've established with your doctor,
Yeah.
and still learning to appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard.
Well, definitely. I mean, no doubt. It's a journey for sure that I'm working on. And something that's been really helpful for me has been curating my social media feed, So I have
Mm-hmm.
looked for body positive and body neutral content producers, health at every size, things that are focusing on um, intuitive eating, gentle nutrition, all of the things that we've talked about before, not the hardcore diet culture, right? The hardcore, working out where you have to pain, 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 pain,
Mm,
right? Not paying attention to your body. I'm not looking at people posting their size 2 bodies in tiny
mhm.
little outfits because that's not me, right? And that's not
Yeah.
going to help me feel good about me, or inspire me to wear something cute either, right? So I've
Yeah.
started looking at fashion content that is like people who look more like me, right? And
Mhm.
so I think talking about fashion, I know this is so perhaps unimportant compared to other things, but like, so I think this is a good way to distinguish. Body positive would tell you wear whatever you want, no matter how it looks on you, right? You
Mm,
want to wear a tube top, right? Wear a tube top. You want to wear a mini skirt, wear, and I still think that's true. If you feel
mhm.
comfortable, wear whatever you feel comfortable in. But I think that this new approach is wear what makes you feel good, right? Not
Yes.
what's trendy, not,
Yeah.
what you think you should wear for your body size or type. Like wear what you feel confident in,
Mhm.
right? What you feel confident, what makes you feel cute or pretty or however you want to feel. So that's like what I've been focusing on, and it really does help. Like if you
Yeah.
compare, if I'm seeing post after post after post of this other content, of people who don't look or think like me, compared
Mhm.
to me seeing people who are trying to encourage me to be my best version of myself the way that I am, right? Without having to
Mm.
change anything. Like health is one thing, and we've talked a lot about health, right? Physical health is an important part of this content podcast, right? Connected. I was gonna like mix connected and podcast together. So physical health is an important part of this podcast, of course, right? But there's sometimes only so much you can do for your physical
Mhm.
health, and it's not going to change the way your body looks, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like the point that our body's only one part of who we are. It should not dominate how I feel about myself. And I need to really realize that some things I cannot change, no matter how much I want to. Like genetics is a big part of it, right? My
Mhm.
environment is a big part of it. There are things that are out of my control, and if I
Yeah.
continue to try to manipulate them, it's only going to cause me harm,
Yeah.
So I think that's again why there's so much value in this approach.
Mhm. I agree. I think body neutrality for me is just freeing.
Mm,
It says that like the standards of society trying to be a size small, whatever, that's not actually the goal. The goal is actually just being honest with yourself and appreciating what is happening in your body, and then from there you then create your goals of, oh, like maybe I want to like work out a little bit more so I can lower my cholesterol. Maybe I want
mhm,
to like do more, I don't know, strength training because I want to feel more muscles in my upper arms, things like that. It says that your value isn't in what you look like. It says that your
mhm.
value is in the fact that you just inherently have value as a human being because the Lord has created you. And so I
Yeah.
find it to just be really freeing. And I remember a moment for me where I'm like, "Ooh, I'm switching to like a body neutrality perspective," is I don't know if I'm 34. So growing up, there was like this pressure that you wanted to be a size 0 and you wanted to be an
Mm,
extra small and like all of that. And even in my early 30s, I was still like, as I was working out and doing stuff, I still had a goal to go back to a size small. And then I was like, why am I trying to be a size small? Like my doctor at that time, my doctor said that I'm at a healthy weight, my numbers are looking good, and like I'm a size large, right? My size doesn't actually equate to my health.
mm-mm.
And I would feel uncomfortable in clothes because I was wearing clothes that weren't my size because I was trying to be healthy, which I thought was a size small. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, that's not what that is. What if I just bought things that was for the size for my body,
Mhm,
and my body is doing well, I'm tuning into its needs, I respond and I create a plan when something is not going the way that I want it to be going. And so I remember that was like a big shift for me, is that those messages that I got as like a child just from like living in the world, I still held on to them even in my early 30s. And I was like, that should not be my goal. My goal shouldn't be what's
mhm.
the smallest size I can get to. The goal
Yeah.
should be like I should find clothes that are my size that I enjoy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting to think that and to realize that you're not supposed to stay the same
Yeah.
size your whole life, right? Like,
No.
you're not, I mean, maybe some people do, but I think it's pretty normal to be a different size when you're 30 than when you were
Yeah.
in high school, right? Or
Yeah.
college. And so to be able to accept that, and as long as you are, doing health promoting behaviors, right? Like
Mhm.
that is the goal. You want to be healthy, of course, but healthy looks different for a lot of people,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, that is interesting. I have never ever been a size small, so that's never been an issue for me
Mhm.
trying to go back to that. But
Yeah.
something I noticed that I will call this a win. We could talk about wins, I guess, anytime. But this,
Yeah.
I've been dealing with body image issues forever, and relatively recently, like probably the last time I had to go shopping for a bathing suit. Bathing suit shopping is usually an absolute nightmare, right? Like it
Mm.
would put me into a negative spiral. Like I just absolutely hated it. It made me feel like garbage. But
Mm.
this one time, after again curating my feed and doing all of this work to try to realize that I am so much more than my body, right? And I've
Yeah.
been working on being healthier, and I am healthier most of the time, right? So I put on a bathing suit, and I remember just being like, oh, this is not for me. Like
Mhm.
instead of being like, oh, I look horrible and this and that, and I wish this was smaller and that was smaller, I was just like, oh, this one's not for me. And then
Mhm.
like that wasn't even an intentional thing. And I took it off and I was like, oh my gosh, like last year that would have put me in this negative spiral and I would have been in a bad
Mm.
mood like the rest of the day. But I was like, oh, wow, this is
Wow.
amazing to just be like, this one is not for me, right? This is not
Yeah.
making me comfortable in my body. Like, let's try another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So that's for
Wow, that's
me part
huge.
of the goal. Yeah. And I'm still working on it. That's not to
Right.
say that that happens every single day. But let me go back to how does this affect, again, like you said a lot about function, right? The function of our
Mm.
body and being healthy and forgetting about the way it looks. So, like me right now, I'm in a season where my body is not acting the way that I would like it to, right? I'm
Mm.
not feeling
Mhm.
the way that I would like to feel. I'm not exactly sure what's wrong. We're working on it. But so that's, I think, another issue. This body neutrality is fine. I'm getting so much better at it when everything's working fine. But when I'm not
Yeah.
feeling well, I start to feel like this antagonism with my body. Like I'm angry
Mm.
with it because it's not acting the way that I want it to. It feels like a betrayal, which I know is
Yeah.
so ridiculous, but that's how I feel. Like I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to yell at it. Like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to live my life. I got stuff to do, and you are getting in the way because you're not acting the way that I want it to. So
Yeah.
I think that's like a whole separate challenge of being
Mhm.
okay with however I look, but I'm not okay with how I feel, So
Mm.
I don't
Wow.
know what the solution is to that, but that's like literally today where I'm at with this neutrality thing, that I need to find a way to get on the same team and not feel such an antagonism with my
Yeah.
body, because I know that's clearly not going to help, like
Yeah.
it's not going to help me feel better if I'm like yelling at my body.
It's not. But you know what though? Your frustration is valid. I think we're just misplacing it a little bit. To be
Mm,
frustrated that something is going on in your body and you don't know what it is, that is frustrating. That's like, oh, like especially you've been on a health journey, you've been seeing so much progress, and it's like, well, dang, I'm still having issues. Like,
mm-hmm.
why? And I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure it out, and I'm not getting answers in this journey. So I think that frustration is valid, and instead of looking at it as like, oh my gosh, it's me versus my body, body, I'm so mad at you, body, you're betraying me. Instead, it's like, oh, body, I'm sorry that something is going on inside you. I promise I'm trying to figure it out. I
Mm-hmm.
promise I'm trying to figure it out. I'm meeting with specialists. I'm looking up things online. I'm praying. I'm being mindful of the things that I'm ingesting and all of that. We're going to figure it out. And so that frustration means that you care. It means that you
Yeah.
care about your body. It's actually a healthy thing, right? Because since you care about something and it's not going in the way that is healthy for you or a way that is working for you, then you are going to be frustrated. So I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think a lot of people, especially a lot of the Christian women of color that I speak to, that I have either as clients or as friends, there's just a lot of health issues that we experience. Like Black women have very high rates of fibroids. Like if you look at it, it's a lot, right? The socio
Mhm.
and the economic factors that go into our health. For me, I think I spoke about having PCOS, and what's really difficult is that I'm like, yo, body, like you're just gaining weight rapidly. Why are you doing this?
Mhm.
I'm not eating things that warrant this, right? And I'm like, oh, now you're losing weight in this weird way. I did not warrant this either, right? It just kind of seems like things are a disproportionate response. My body's having
Mm.
a disproportionate response to what it's ingesting, and it's frustrating. And so what we have to remind ourselves, especially from a body neutrality perspective, is like, okay, something is happening in our body. We're going to try to figure out what it is. Body, I'm with you. I'm trying to hear the messages that you're sending me.
Mhm.
We're going to find a plan. We're going to make it work. I'm sorry it's taking so long. Right. And just reminding ourselves that instead of with body positivity, we're forcing ourselves to feel positive. We don't need to do that with body neutrality. We
Yeah.
accept the fact that something is happening in our body and that is frustrating, and therefore we want to do something about it. So that
Yeah.
is so real. The like me versus my body. I mean, I'm not a man, so I don't know, but I would have a hunch that people of various like genders and race and all of that can resonate with that just because we live in such a body focused world.
Yeah. 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 So I'm wondering what acceptance looks like in this scenario. Maybe it's kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, like, um, I'm not feeling great right now. But I know that hopefully that's temporary, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just going to do what I need to do right now, if that's rest, if that's, whatever right now. And again, try to listen to the clues and try to figure it out.
Mhm.
But yeah, getting frustrated, although it's warranted, like you said, it just feels like it makes things worse. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what acceptance means here. So yeah, just like
Hmm.
I guess it is more of a mindfulness too. Like, okay, so in this moment, this is how I'm feeling, right?
Mhm.
Maybe I'm not feeling good. So okay, in this moment, I need rest. I need medicine. I need water. I need whatever,
Mm.
right? And just kind of taking it one step at a time. I'll tell you my problem, as usual. I'm always telling you. As soon as I said it, that made me laugh. But my problem is, I don't know what this is. Like, what is the root of this problem? But like when I have a difficulty, I feel like it's never going to change. So like I feel like this is how I'm going to
Mm.
feel forever, which is ridiculous because pretty much everything else that I've experienced up till now in my whole life has not been permanent, right?
Mm.
But for some reason, I like get stuck. Maybe it's just a part of my special Marianne brand of anxiety. But like when I have a difficult, feeling, I'm like, nope, this is it. I mean, and the longer it lasts too, which I guess that's reasonable. The longer it lasts, I start to think, nope, this is the way I'm going to feel forever.
Mm.
So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But again, I think
Mm.
it's maybe more of the Buddhist principle that they're like of impermanence. I don't know if you've ever heard of that nothing is
Mm.
permanent. It's
Mhm.
a it's a good one. I think that we could
Yeah.
all benefit from that, knowledge and acceptance. Nothing is permanent. The good stuff is not
Mm.
permanent, the bad stuff is not permanent. So that's why this moment is kind of all there is. And we do our best like
Yeah.
within each moment. Yeah.
Mm. Marianne, you said something very interesting that I think a lot of people can resonate with, which is when something bad happens, I think it's just going to be like that forever.
Mm.
And there's a sense of that's a heavy statement because there's a sense of hopelessness, a sense of let me just resign myself to this problem.
Mhm.
Why
Mhm.
should I even spend the energy trying to figure it out? Um, even questioning God in a way, which I think as
Mm-hmm.
Christians, we should ask lots of questions to God in our frustration. If I was your life coach, I would ask you the question of what did you learn as a child that was negative that happened to you and it never went away? Because there's something that happened in your life that made your brain say the thing that you just said, right? You don't have to talk about it now,
No,
obviously.
I have no idea what the answer is. I'm thinking that's
Yep.
quite a question. I have like no clue
Hmm.
what the answer is to that. Because
Hmm.
what I said earlier is I don't think that there's ever been anything that stayed forever.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That the bad
Hmm.
things, thank God, have pretty much always been temporary.
That's
So
great.
I don't know. That's a great question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know where
Happy
this comes
reflecting.
from. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it
Happy
really going to be
reflecting.
happy though? I don't know if it's going to be a happy time of reflection,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. It definitely could be a
interesting.
special brand of anxiety for sure. But your brain somewhere along the line was like, I thought this thing was gonna get better and it never did. Or I was told that
Mm,
this thing would be resolved and it wasn't. Your brain
mm,
got that
mm, mm.
idea from somewhere, and we just
And
want
does
to
it
know
have to
where.
be childhood
It doesn't
or
have to
could
be.
it?
The reason why I do say childhood is because we tend to overlook the memories and experiences that we've had as a child. And we're like, oh, I was a
Mm,
kid. That really didn't do much. So there's a lot, though, that does happen in childhood because it is our formative years. So I would say from
hmm
childhood up to like being in like high school, those are a lot of formative years. And then for people who have gone to college, maybe their first few years of being independent, those are formative
hmm
years as well. Those are usually the common ones. So
Yeah,
happy
interesting.
reflect.
Yeah,
Let
yeah,
us know
very
what comes
interesting.
up for you. But I do think
Very
that's very
interesting.
real. That's very real. There's
Yeah,
a sense of hopelessness that
yeah.
we can have. And I think that's another aspect of body neutrality is saying like, okay, body, we have overcome so much already. So we're going to figure out how to overcome this new thing. And no matter how long it takes, no matter what the journey is, I'm here with you and I'm going to figure it out.
hmm hmm
And then being around people and being in spaces that uplift you and remind you of that message is
hmm
going to be so, so helpful. Because
hmm
you talking about how you curated your social media feed, that is probably one of the smartest things you've ever done in your life. I know it's a really dramatic statement, but it's true because we take in so much without necessarily
hmm
realizing it. And our social media algorithm, y'all, your social media algorithm kind of creates itself unless you create it for yourself.
Yeah,
And it's usually not going to start out with a lot of healthy, wonderful, awesome things unless you curate it over a period of time to make it that way. And so
yeah,
the things you're consuming, the people that you're around, the conversations you're having, the music that you're listening to, the way that you're talking to God, all of those things can really create a conducive environment for you to have a body neutrality perspective. It's a lot,
yeah,
but it's worth it because you are worth it.
yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And I would actually say if anyone's interested, I'd be happy to share some of the, accounts that I follow, that
Mm,
I feel like have helped with this process, this particular, body neutrality. Um, Anti-diet. We've kind of talked about anti-diet
mm-hmm.
before when we talked about gentle nutrition, but yeah, so just let me know or let us know if you want me to share any of that. But
Yeah.
I mentioned before affirmations, right? Like in body positivity. And I know we like affirmations in general, and I think you've said this before that affirmations should feel true, right? For them
Mm,
to be beneficial. So that's why, again, me being like, I look amazing all the time, right, is maybe not the best affirmation for me because sometimes I don't feel like I look amazing, right? So
mm,
I'm wondering what are some statements that could be helpful that we could kind
mm,
of have in our back pocket that might be good for us. So I looked up some of them and I'll tell you some that I like. You can tell me if there's
mm,
any you want to add, but like I am thankful for my body because it does
mm.
so much for me. Right?
Yeah.
So that's again taking away any of the appearance base. Like my body does so much and I'm thankful for it. And that can be part of a prayer of thanksgiving, right? I'm thankful for my
Mm-hmm.
body. I accept my body as it is, right? So even if
Yeah.
it doesn't change, and this is something that I have grappled with a lot because I was working on changing my body for so long, and then when I realized I don't think it's going to change anymore, that was something for me that I kind of had to like sit with, you know. I'm like,
Mm,
how do I feel about this if it doesn't change anymore than it has, you know? And so it felt a little bit like, let me tell you my journey that I didn't like it almost felt like I was bailing to just be like, no, I accept it the way that it is, right? I was like, shouldn't I be like
mm,
keep working, like, you know, keep trying to get better, like go go go. So it took me a while to be able to say like, no, if this is the way that it is, that's okay, right? I accept my
mhm.
body the way that it is. My body is not perfect, and that's okay, right? Like it is
Yeah.
not supposed, like, well, who said we're supposed to be perfect again? And that, if you think bodies are supposed to be perfect, again, you're looking at the wrong stuff. You're looking at
Mm,
the, you know, the content that's telling you to Photoshop and, you know, use artificial means to make your body look the way that it's not naturally going to look. You know, so
mm,
my body is not supposed to look perfect.
mhm.
No one ever said so, and if anyone said so, they're wrong. End
Yeah.
of story. Like bodies are
Yeah.
not supposed to look perfect.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I like this one too. My body works hard and it deserves kindness, right?
Yeah. I
So
love
just like,
that.
yeah, that whole listen to my body, like do what it needs, you know, rest, drink water, move, eat nutritionally, you know, like just, yeah. And then I like the one, how can I honor my body today? You know, what can I
Yeah.
do? Or like kind of what can I do to take care of my body today? So these are
Mm,
things that are very true and reasonable, and I don't have to like kind of roll my eyes. Like again, if I say I look hot every day, that's just gonna make me roll my eyes. You know,
yeah.
that's me. Again, it might work for
Yeah.
somebody else, and go you if that works for you. Like
Mhm.
I love that, but it doesn't work for me. You know,
Yeah.
so these more like again, just neutral. It's just about respect,
Yeah.
acceptance and respect for my body. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those. I, I think we talked about how I have a love-hate relationship with affirmations. And I think one of the reasons why affirmations is hard is because sometimes we feel like we have to force ourselves into believing something that we don't actually believe. And so the affirmations that you just shared are so beautiful because they are they I'm not I'm only Rachel, right? I'm not everybody else. But for me, they are mostly easy to believe, but it still requires a little bit more to make me fully believe, right? Like in
Hmm.
I forgot where this was in the Bible, but the verse was like, Father, I believe, but help my unbelief. So we
Hmm.
can like believe something, but also it's like, but there's like 5% that's like a question
Hmm.
mark. And I think when we
Yeah.
say these affirmations, if there's that 5% question mark, that's a beautiful opportunity to be like, God, I don't know if I fully believe this. This is hard for me to like fully embody.
Right.
Where is that coming from? Why am I feeling this way? What's going on for me, right? Inviting God into that conversation I think is beautiful. And then also inviting God into our affirmations. Some of the most powerful affirmations is like God created my body for a purpose and on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
God will give me all that I need to steward my body well. God's
Mm-hmm.
standards are better and holier and healthier than than the standards of society, right? So
Right.
affirmations, yes, are like happy and, make you feel like give you a smile on your face, but also they can just be like statements. You know what I mean? Like some affirmations are a little bit more flowery, and that's beautiful. Like, I'm going to treat my body with kindness. That's beautiful and flowery. Being like, I adhere to God's standards and not the standards of society, that's not a flowery statement. That's like a statement
Right.
statement. But that's
Right.
still an affirmation because you're reminding your brain of what it is that you adhere to and why. And so I love those affirmations that you shared. I think that affirmations are a really great tool to use, especially in this body neutrality process.
Yeah. I think what you said, especially the ones you mentioned about God, they're like a shift of focus. Right. So,
Mm,
and I think that's why it's so valuable too. And even some of the ones that I mentioned, like it's a shift of focus from appearance to value. Right.
mm,
So I appreciate everything my body does for me. So I'm again not focusing on how it looks, but like what it does and how it
mm,
functions. And and how I'm thankful for that. So yeah, I think that's, again, maybe even if they're not flowery, like you said, affirmations, they can still shift your focus, um, give you some new neural pathways, right, that you might need to
That we
develop.
love
So
neural
yeah,
pathways.
I think that's where the benefit comes from. And that's why they should be things that are, even if you don't believe them 100%, they are believable, right?
Yes.
Like you don't
Yes.
hear it and you're like the like and you say it just because like you promised yourself that you would say it, right? So um I am fearfully and wonderfully made is another one,
Mm,
right? From the
mm-hmm.
Bible, that again, like how it actually hurts to think about that we could hate something that God has created, that God has
Mm,
created intentionally. Like he created me and you and every one of us intentionally, right? Like
yeah.
the way that I am and my size and shape and flaws and everything, he created them that way, right? Like for
Yeah.
whatever I probably will never understand, but like if I trust in him and I believe in him and believe that he is good and that he has a purpose, then how could I possibly like hate that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to that.
There
I didn't
is.
think
That's
we
so
could
beautiful.
incorporate God into our body neutrality talk, but of course we can. Like we incorporate him into everything, because he
Yes.
is there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God cares about our bodies. He cares about the way that we think and feel and view our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're starting to have to land the plane a little bit. Any last minute thoughts before we transition out?
Maybe I'm sorry. Maybe that's
Why?
my thought for like putting all my stuff out there all the time. I don't know. Sorry, but thanks for listening. And hope someone found it helpful and valuable. Let's go with that.
Hey, that's legit. I personally don't think you need to apologize. Comment below if you think Marianne should apologize or should not apologize. I personally find it very refreshing, your vulnerability, because lots of people think and feel the way that you do. You just happen to have the courage to say it. But remember, we talked about how vulnerability is so powerful. And
Hmm.
so,
Hmm. Hmm.
thank you for just being honest and being like, yeah, I actually am not going to think I'm hot every second of my life.
Yeah.
Like that is so refreshing to hear. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Hmm.
So just thank you so much
Yeah.
for everybody for tuning in. We would love to hear from you about your thoughts about if Marianne should apologize or not,
Mhm.
about body neutrality. Is that easy for you? Is that hard for you? All of the things. So please send it in the comments below. You can also reach out to us on Instagram. We're there at Connected Wellness Podcast. We're also on Facebook at Connected Wellness Podcast. If you want to reach out to Marianne on Instagram, she's at Wabasaba. If you want to reach out to me on Instagram, I'm at Real with Rachel Ann. You can email us too if that's more of your vibe at connectedwellnesspodcast@gmail.com. All of that will be linked down below. And yeah, I'll turn it over to Marianne.
Thank you so much for tuning in and hope to see you for the next 50 episodes. And until next
Yes.
time, be well.
Be well, everybody. Bye.